So we are live on YouTube. I'm just letting people in. We'll just have a little bit of a pause before we get started. So I've got Artifact's video if you want me to play at this end when that time comes.
Already in the presentation,
Excellent.
Bob.
All right. I've got a video that I took yesterday in Prague. So I'll throw that out when the time comes.
Hi guys.
Hello. So I'll throw that out when the time comes. I'm hearing myself. Why am I hearing myself?
Guys.
Hello. So I'll throw that out when the time comes. I'm hearing myself. Why am I hearing myself? Hello. So I'll throw that out. That's when the time comes. I'm hearing myself. Why am I hearing myself? Hello. So
We've got a doom loop going.
I don't know how that's happening. Is someone listening to the stream at the same time? So
We've got a doom loop going.
I don't know how that's happening. Is someone listening to the stream at the same time? So
We've got a doom loop going.
I don't know how that's happening. Is someone listening to the stream? It ain't me. I'm shut down all browsers. So
We've got a doom loop going.
I don't know how
Oh gosh, maybe it's me.
Is someone listening to the stream? It ain't me. I'm shut down all browsers. So
We've got a doom loop going.
I don't know how
Oh gosh, maybe it's me.
Is someone listening to the stream? It ain't me. Ah, that's better. What happened? Can I still hear you, Charles?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I think it was your end. That was fun.
How's that happening?
It's not happening anymore, so that's good. Okay. We have Artifact Charles, Dr. Rupert Holmes, Ken Pratt and Sterling in the call. And we've got a bunch of people on the YouTube. Just give it a few more seconds. Hello, TK Mills. Hi, Mika Avila. Hi, Martin Kemp. Hi, Alex Lozman. Watkins International. Overwhelmed Games. Gordon Doherty. Estionias. Dino Loyetic. Hello, Marius Schmidt. Great to have you here. For this 6th EVO Labs community call. 5th of March 2025. Okay. Is it good on YouTube? Can someone just let me know if it's okay on YouTube? And I'm going to start recording in the stream if that's okay. Alex Luzman's joining us. Right. Is everyone okay with me recording this to Zoom? It's going live out on YouTube anyway, but okay. All right. No objections.
Recording in progress.
Okay. So, if you want to fire away, Charles.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. So today we're going to go over what's been achieved in the last month, some successes, and some of the challenges that we've had. If anybody would like to offer any questions, please keep them to the end, or alternatively, put them in a chat wherever you are, and I'll try and answer them whenever I can. There we go. Wonderful. Okay, so in the last month, we have set up a media team. We have set up a project page so users can see projects and their status and their funding status. We've got user profiles which have been created. We've established a mailing list to keep those who have contacted the DAO up to date with calls, project updates, things like that. We've created storyboards for some videos, which we'll go into. We have also created a YouTube and an Odyssey account for video hosting. And you'll understand a bit more about that in a little bit. And we're using Odyssey as a decentralized backup. Development is ongoing, estimated time 2 to 3 months. We're continuing to talk to partners, continuing to gather project information. AI investigation is ongoing, legal incorporation again ongoing. Our workflows are being tested almost daily at the moment. Credential design, I think we're going to ask Bob kindly for some Matsumoto images that we can make absolutely tiny, and that'll be our NFT image. That'll be quite easy to do. But if anybody else would like to offer some artwork, we're more than open to any suggestions. The information availability is happening at the moment. We've got some challenges. I'll go into that in a bit. KYC investigation is pretty much done already, but we've got a couple of things to dot and cross to ensure that we know exactly what we're talking about. Lab space getting further on down the line. We've created, or in the process of creating, an explainer video for the DAO to explain in 2 to 4 minutes the who, what, why, when, where of the DAO, why we're doing what we're doing, why we think fractal toroidal moments are amazing, and what we hope to achieve with them. We're also going to do individual project videos so that each of the projects that are on the website have a 2 to 4 minute explainer video about them, because it's really quite challenging to boil down all these concepts, especially for new people. And we think, and because people learn differently, it's good to have a video as well as quite a bit of writing. So yeah, that's that. So yeah, the first project video for EVH2O is in the process of being edited over the next couple of weeks, I would say. It is the first DAO Explainer video, and it occurred. The DAO Explainer video, the first meeting occurred today between Rupert and Paul and myself and Chris. We're really looking at how we can make sure that the content and and we're looking at the correct audience, so that we're not appealing to essentially dreamers. We want people who essentially could have a workshop, who are eager to actually do things. Felix, the wonderful Felix, has been to the UK, flew over from Germany to go and see Paul in his workshop, and he will be going to see Artifact in his workshop very soon. So that means we've got 2 projects being started to be filmed. We have a chap in North America who can help with the filming and editing, but that's an ongoing challenge. He's a traveler. He keeps on traveling around. We need to create a film package that might involve local services. So each project needs a video, and we need to explain what's going on, and we want to ensure that there's decent quality standards. So we may need to utilize local filming or podcast services. If you would like to volunteer for the media team, we need editors potentially, someone who likes making short videos, and potentially people to go to innovators themselves and film them. On top of that, we may need someone to manage our social media, as well as to create shorter videos for various platforms. So if you're interested, please reach out. My email is charles@evo-labs.io. Yeah, and the final point I've got on here is we'd initially wanted the videos to be about 2 minutes, but after Felix's first experience, we thought that 4 minutes is going to be more appropriate to really get the ideas across and all the information across. So on your screen now, you will see our first rough mock-up of the project page. So these will be the individual projects. You'll be able to click on an individual project. It will expand and show you more details in the videos. We're having challenges at the moment with the Charmverse API. The specific API that we're having challenges with is the Charmverse Partner API. The reason we're having a challenge with that is we are not an official or a partner of Charmverse. We have discussions ongoing and they are promising. I'm speaking to their CEO tomorrow. Usually to get access to the Partner API, revenue must be generated for Charmverse in some sort of agreement. And usually there's many options on the table for regular companies, but we're a non-profit DAO who won't be generating any revenue for some time. So we may possibly have to give some of our unreleased future token to them as part of a partnership agreement. I will have to act quite quickly on this as we need access to the API, as it's very, very crucial to the work that we've been doing. If we don't get access to the partner API, development work will take a lot longer, and it'll be another 3-4 months on top of where we are now. And we may even have to scratch or potentially remove features or functionality to get us to MVP quickly. If anyone has any reservations about the DAO giving some of our future token to Charmverse, or would like to give some input, please email me, charles@evolabs.io. So we have a user profile set up. So absolutely brilliant for each user so that you'll be able to get in there. You'll have lots of different features, lots of things you'll be able to do. We're actively looking at either launching our own soulbound token in the next few days or bringing in a smart contract developer for a day job to launch a token for us. We have the interface for the users already set up for them to mint a soulbound token, so all of the onboarding can be done. Regarding push notifications, the push video and the push chat, timing as always is amazing. So we are aiming to launch for the end of May. Before the end of May, Push are releasing their brand new blockchain L1 to do all their communications on. So it'll be super fast, super amazing, super private, absolutely the thing that we want. But they're going to be changing all of their documentation prior to our launch. So depending on how close to the launch it is, depends on whether we actually get those features or not. So if it's like the week before, like ICCF, we may not be able to do the development work in time for the launch for that. But it should be in the pipeline past that. So we've created a mailing list. If you'd like to go to our website, which is on the screen, we'll be communicating major DAO updates, sharing events with the community calls, project updates, things like that. We have integrated snapshots. So this is our on-chain voting mechanic. We have got it in within our DAO testing area. We know which strategy we need to employ so users can delegate their soulbound tokens for membership to community experts, so the community experts can vote on their behalf. Once our soulbound token is minted for testing, we can test our whole flow. It's almost fully connected. And we're just connecting our testnet snapshot environment to our test spaces environment on Canvas. That's where we are at the moment. So 3 significant blockers we've had this month. Firstly, the Canvas API, as I've been discussing, that's been a bit of a problem. We've had issues with Next Auth and Auth0, so we now have 2 developers working on that, and ideally that'll be done by the end of the week. And our third challenge is we've been looking at an external database. Initially, we'd wanted to not have an external database, as we just wanted the APIs to talk to each other. But it's just a bit too complicated, a bit too challenging. So what we're going to do is use symmetric encryption via an API. So the API will hold all the encryption keys. It will encrypt and decrypt data, and the data will be held on a decentralized storage through a company called Web3.storage, and will be so it will be fully encrypted. All the data will be fully encrypted using AES 256. Right, so normally we'd go over quite a few of the projects. Today we're only going to do about 3 or 4. What we want to do is a project spotlight, and we wanted to highlight what Paul's been doing because he's been really taking advantage of everything within the DAO. He's been reaching out to people. He's been trying to collaborate with as many people as possible. So we just wanted to give a bit of an update from him. So he's engaged with a company I'm a little bit friendly with called Phyto. These are a botanical research and development company focused on commercial and the academic space. They're a great little company, like they basically do indoor hydroponics. It's the stuff they do is magnificent. They grow these amazing edible flowers. Their team is basically an amazing electronics engineer and a chemist. So Bob's actually met them both when we had dinner together. They're a lovely bunch of chaps. So they've been helping quite a lot. With this, they've been helping with the electronic design that Paul needed for certain things. You'll see that in a second. He's had his first volunteer into the project, which is absolutely magnificent. And Felix, as I was mentioned, has already gone over and seen Paul and taken some video of his workshop, and he'll be our first project explainer video. And Paul would need a statistician. If anybody in the community is a statistician, please reach out to me or Paul, or you can reach out to me at charles@evo-labs.io. And if you are a statistician, Paul has need of your assistance. So one of the wonderful things that we will have today, and this should work, is this.
Now let me show you some of the prototypes. Our first one is rather interesting. It's based on a patent which...
Sorry, I don't know what I just did there. I thought I was muting myself.
Which has been expired for a few years from Lockheed Martin, and the important feature of it is a magnetic beam device. This is an arrangement of 5 magnets, which are very large and very powerful, with their south poles pointing inwards, and they produce a square beam which is coming out for at least 100 centimeters or more of very concentrated magnetic force. And it is this beam which we think is going to pass down the center of a water vortex, which is running upwards past the magnet and into this dome and swirls out of here. Now this means that this magnetized water has been restructured in a powerful way and should pass out into our reservoir. Through this it can be recirculated many times until we're happy that adequate treatment has been completed. So that's all there is about that one. Behind it you can see the gentle giant. This is Schaumburger's water cup, a beautiful thing which is made of 32 individual magnets, each sitting in a pocket, which I haven't demonstrated being filled with magnets. They're just empty at the moment, but they produce south poles. Again, south poles very important, we think, pointing in to surround the flow of water as it runs in from the top cup round and round the bowl and swirls down the plug hole between the magnets. This gives you an output of water that has been about as thoroughly restructured, we think, as the Lockheed Martin effort, but with much less technology. When you're dealing with the north and south magnetic pole argument, it is very true that we have only got very slight research information demonstrating that there's a benefit between south pole and north pole. So here we have a north pole version of the same device with which we can prepare antipole, if you like, water, and we'll test that to see if there is a real difference between the plant growth created from north and south poles. So that's the magnetization of water. Now we need to talk about the Bendel Tower, which is a very flexible device which is designed to contain the same sort of bulb that is used in the Malcolm Bendel thunderstorm generator, which is why it has the name Bendel Tower, but is also designed to be very, very flexible. It has in its base a fog production unit, which is quite powerful, a commercial industrial one, and below it it has a number of adapters which just simply slot into place. One of them allows clear fresh air and bypasses the fog, and this one allows ionized air or fog or oxygen to pass inside the machine. This is just a device for topping up the water in the fogger, and this fits together and eventually of course will be securely glued, but for the purposes of the demonstration it needs to be taken to bits. And that gives us a very flexible way of taking ionized air, ionized oxygen, fog, fresh air, whatever, passing it through a UVB bulb and putting it into our target reservoir, which is either going to be the main tank through a bubbler or more likely into our ultrasound cavitation device. In addition, here's my personal favourite because I made it. This is my design for what I hope will be an inexpensive nanobubble producer. The theory behind it is that these tiny little discs in the centre of each holder are very thin polycarbonate filters containing large numbers of 50 nanometer pores, and these pores are going to allow tiny bubbles of air through into a swirling vortex of water produced by a Schaumburger vortex generator, which is permanently glued on this one. But you can see here is a very simple 3D printed device which is going to make sure that nanobubbles don't stick to the filters but are swirled away into the water and pass out into the reservoir tank or whatever else we decide to do with them. And of course the way for the gas to get in is through an internal port which is 3D printed into the base of the device, and a simple connector will take input from, for example, an airbrush compressor to provide just enough air to produce the nanobubbles at the filters. Now this is an untried design, but if it is effective it will turn out to be the cheapest available method by an order of magnitude of creating nanobubbles in volume, and we would hope that this will inform our later part of the project if successful. Testing awaits though, we'll have to see. Now just to the right of this is another one of our babies, which is the Omasa. This is a closely spaced stainless steel positive and negative electrolysis cell designed to sit on a fine meshed bubble producer so that powerful streams of air can flow up between the plates and clear off any hydrogen which is blocking them. In practice, these two will sit together, and what goes into here could be air, it could be ionized air, it could be oxygen, it could be all sorts of things. The plates themselves are very cheap. They're made from stainless steel credit cards, which are widely available, and then treated simply to give them a rough surface with ferric chloride etching solution. And together with some 3D plastic spacers, this makes a very good, simple plus and minus set of plates with narrow spacings which are required by the Ohmasa equation. Now, in order to clear the hydrogen off the plates and promote the effect of this cell, we really do need to consider different methods. The gas method is one where the bubbles pass upwards. This is another one where a powerful alternating electric field is generated by what looks like a magnetic coil. It is in fact not a magnetic coil because the magnetism is completely confined within the central toroid. However, the electric field is not confined, and a powerful electric field generated from this coil is apparently one of the better methods of clearing the plates of the Ohmasa generator. This goes with its own driver, which is a mechanism that I have developed in cooperation with the electronics engineer, and I'm glad to say that it seems to be powerful enough for the job. But if we decide that static electricity is more important, this is an antenna which simply takes a high voltage static electric charge and places it between two wires arranged as an antenna, and this generates a localized, very strong electric field of about 6,000 or 7,000 volts per meter just from a 30 volt power input. And this is enough to, it is asserted that this is enough to affect the production of nanobubbles in an ultrasound cavitator, or possibly in one of these cells, Ohmasa cells. And of course, on the right hand side here we have the queen of them all. This is where the energy goes into the water. This is where the ultrasound cavitation process happens and is modified by all the various modalities that we've created for the input water. And into this will go water, will go bubbles, will go electricity, will go gas, many, many things. And they will all be energized by powerful ultrasound vibrations with a view to creating numbers of fractal toroidal moments, which are donut-shaped electromagnetic swirls often produced when nanobubbles are ruptured or cavitated. And cavitation is the name of the game, and if we can produce water that's full of nanobubbles, that's full of the fractal toroidal moment, this should be the most powerfully charged, energized water that we can think of. And once that's in a storage tank, we will have achieved part one of our project.
When I watched that, I had to watch it again because I thought that was so amazing. Like, honestly, Paul, you've done such good work there. Felix as well, like filming that as well. Like, I'm absolutely amazed, guys.
Legendary, wonderful, well done, both of you.
Yeah, great work. I know you're going to chat about it more at the end. Yeah, okay, right. I'll crack on.
Now let me show.
There we go. So another thing that everyone might be quite excited about is the shoulders replication. So we have been looking at the shoulders patents, and we have been looking at the lack of measurement or the details and things like that on there. And we've been trying to be inspired by Tony Gibboni and the amazing stuff that he does with his patent. So Toon Peters, the wonderful Dutch gentleman, has been able to put together the EV generator, and he was concerned because it was so small that we may have to do some sort of watchmaking style, mechanics, and create some absolutely tiny devices. We can actually use tungsten rods from a TIG welder to do this. So we're going to find some cheap ways of recreating the EV generator that it may cost in the region of £10, $10, €10 to recreate an EV generator. The difficulty will be triggering it and doing it right and getting it up to the high speed of charge it needs. Like Toon's your man to talk about that. That might be a chat, and filming it as well. We may have to use some sort of pinhole camera the same way Shoulders did, but again, we've got Toon looking at that. So yeah, that's going to be some really exciting stuff. Toon's comment is there's a disturbing lack of dimensions in the patent document. The device described in the patent will be modeled and described to make it more approachable. A more realistic description where this cathode would simply be interpreted as a sharpened tungsten welding rod at an angle instead of this level of intricate machining. So we don't need to get into the level of machining that the patent tries to articulate. So the few dimensions given in the document will be adhered to, and the rest will be inferred based on the dimensions of similar parts in earlier designs. So if anybody has any actual pictures of these devices or knows where they're stored or anything like that, that we can actually look at them, that would be wonderful, because we've looked through quite a lot of the literature from Mr. Shoulders, and the pictures are rather grainy. So if anyone's got any pictures of an EV generator or any of the other stuff of the patents, that would be wonderful, so we could look at it. In terms of the Leonard timeline, the admin command line interface, sorry, firstly, Martin and Sterling need to be commended for their work. They've done amazing work, and they're pushing this really far forward, so well done them. So the admin command line interface is being converted into an application programming interface. The basic front end for upload and the admin is done, and there's a container image built so front end developers can deploy and build against this build. To do, they need to push the index to Fleek, and they're going to do an interim host on cloud whilst reviewing Web3 hosting options for back-end compute. I think Martin's going to go for a cache network, but there are other computing networks, decentralized computing networks, and decentralized storage networks that may be utilized. Last video comes from Artifact.
This is an initial and incomplete draft of a data collection software with interfaces for Labjack and Arduino. The goal is to keep the usage simple and to standardize data storage, making data exchange within a team or with other interested parties more accessible. I made a little demo project so you can see some of the features of the program so far. Choose the main folder for the data. Create a new name for the project and add a description. Within this project you can have multiple series of tests. A test series can also be one test with calibration runs. Then you add a description of it again. Now we want to do a new experiment. In the data source tab you can add Labjack ports or Arduino sensors and test the connection of the devices. In my case, a webcam and an Arduino Mega, which is configured to be a master device, are attached to the computer. Then there's a slave Arduino Nano attached to the master. Both Arduinos have one or more sensors attached to them. A temperature and humidity sensor on the Arduino Mega and a K-type thermocouple on the Nano. The master collects the data of all slaves and hands them over to the software when requested. Alright, let's see the video settings. You can choose the resolution for the video, and this video will also be recorded into the test run folder in your project folder. I connect to the webcam and tell it to start recording when the run starts. Then I select which sensors are overlaid onto the video. This overlay will also be included in the recording. They can be dragged around. Now I go back and add a description for this run. I want to see how hot a fresh made muffin is. After checking the settings for the plot, I'm ready for the run. Good, both thermocouple values are not too far away from each other. Now let's put the K-type thermocouple into the muffin. Fast response there. And this is how the video feed looks. Well, a pity that I found this short test very unconclusive. I will have to request many more test objects. If I was to do another test run with the same settings, I would just have to add a new test run description and click on start again.
Yeah, so that's from Artifact in Germany. Yeah, it's one of the coolest things he's ever said. It's absolutely amazing the work he's been doing. So the applications, like for that, are going to be endless. I think quite a lot of projects are going to be able to utilize this type of stuff. The data, the sensors that we're putting in there, the lab jacks, they're all pretty much standard off the shelf things, so everybody can get hold of them. Yeah, and it just means that we can create a standardized data collection system as well. So yeah, hats off to Artifact. What a good, what, like, this month has been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing. So yeah, I hope we've conveyed that in the video. We're doing an awful lot of wonderful things. So yeah, that's the end of the video today. That catches us up on the month. We're looking forward to another month where we're literally trying to take as many tasks on as we possibly can. We know we've only got about 10, 11 weeks left before the potential launch. So we're really trying to like dial down on the MVP and make sure there's some functionality and everybody can get in there when we want them to, and start voting on projects and talking about projects and debating and peer reviewing what everybody's doing. Our next community call will be on the 9th of April at 2200 Central European Time for Community Call 7. If anybody has any questions, please fire away. I'll go through the chat in YouTube and see if anybody comments or anything like that. But yeah, hats off to everybody, like Paul, Felix, like Rupert, like Alex, everybody, Artifact, everybody's doing such amazing work. Martin, Sterling, Chris, like Mark Hollins, like everybody. If I haven't mentioned your name, thank you very much. You're all doing amazing work. It's an honor to work with everybody who's so committed and so passionate and so knowledgeable. So thank you everybody from the bottom of my heart. It's just making me smile every morning I wake up when I get out of bed. So yeah, loving doing this, and I think we've got some really exciting times ahead of us. So thank you very much everybody for your time. Yeah, that's the end of the presentation. So thank you very much, gentlemen.
Absolutely awesome work, guys. That's fantastic. So who has some questions in the room? And if someone can take the responsibility of looking at YouTube. Does anyone have some comments in the room? Alex, yes. Okay. Do you want to put up your hands? Okay, whilst you're thinking about that, is it okay if I share?
Pay attention.
Okay, hey, Alex?
I'm paying attention to the YouTube chat and I don't see any questions. One thing I wanted to ask was, do we have somebody in touch with Murray King? Maybe he could help us with answering your question about where we can find some of these EVO producing things.
Yes,
from
I have contact with Murray King, and I'll be speaking alongside him at the Tesla Tech Conference in August. I also, with respect to that, I will ask George Hathaway. I did a video on his EVO generator that he produced for Ken Shoulders using a Bloomline capacity. You can see that on the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project. I'll also see if I can reach out to Ken's son because he worked with him for many years.
I think the time would be quite right about now. I mean, we're looking at his patents seriously, and we really want to recreate them and film them and show what he saw in a safe and controlled manner. So yeah, I would love that. If you do have the ability to do that, Bob, I think that would be a wonderful step.
I will do my best. Yes.
We have a question in the chat for Artifact. Do you have any protocols for EMI suppression on your DAQ? Do you want to answer to that, Artifact? Does anyone know how to answer that?
Not yet. I didn't look into that because I'm concerned more with the software at the moment. So
I guess some electrical engineers out there can assist by providing chokes and RF shielding. These things are well understood to a degree, and we're going to be using, as Artifact showed, the capability to use LabJack, which is pretty well sorted as it comes, and I think there's a lot of media and materials out there for how to suppress these things when it comes to Arduinos. So I think probably as these systems are implemented in experiments, people could do rough experiments, and then if there seems to be something that looks spurious, then people could work with those experimenters to deal with those potential noise and artifact issues. Artifact.
Artifacts for Artifact.
Yeah.
So we had one other question for Paul. Paul, What did you use to print those white components? What 3D printing material did you use? That's from Skagi. Oh, did we lose Paul?
He's there, but I need to hear his sound on. You need to unmute.
You're muted, Paul.
Conscious Energies said he can help with electronic noise suppression.
Excellent. Yeah, the actual printer is the material is standard PETG, nothing special. It has to be printed in a particular way to make it waterproof. You can't just print it and expect it to be watertight with an ordinary arrangement. You require things like 6 perimeters and a bit of fiddling with the extrusion parameters to get it exactly right. But these are more or less waterproof now, and the technology is there. And of course, the STL files are available to anyone who wants to have a go. The printer itself is a Prusa Mark 4S with an MMU3 unit on the top. Absolutely standard, but doing a rather nice job. At this moment, it's printing something called a GUI meter to measure the magnetic the diamagnetic effect in water. And that's actually beginning. My first prototype has worked. I've noticed a centimeter deflection at 4 meters in the laser beam. And I'm hoping to try the same thing with a chemical balance to see if I can persuade diamagnetism to become something I can measure cheaply on my 3D printed workbench. And if I can, well, that'll be another useful asset which hasn't been done before.
Skagi says exactly, and thank you very much in the chat.
Could I ask a question and then offer a commentary on this particular project? The first one was, Paul, are you aware of the Perevostchikov paper, which I've talked about in the past?
I have tried to do all the papers I can. That one I don't think I've got round to, Bob. So
okay,
I would like to, I've got my pen here. Give me the link.
I will send you the link, but essentially they took a Petri dish of water, sealed, put outside for 10 to 14 days with the south pole of a magnet pointing up, exposed to the environment. They then took it inside, used a laser, exposed it onto the water, and produced the birdies on 400 ASA film.
Absolutely. I'm very interested. I don't know whether you actually noticed, but on the Lockheed Martin magnetic beam stream gadget, there's a clip which has 2 low-powered lasers going at 45 degrees down through the water. It's my contention that if there is any significant charging of the water, that passing lasers through it will actually do something to the quality of the laser beam on its exit from the column of water. So and I think this is in line with that paper.
Yeah, so I think what's happening is it actually causes the charge clusters, the EVOs that are bound to the oxygen and dissolved in the water to be disassociated and broken up, and they travel with the light. And so it's a means of potentially, I propose that this is a means of potentially testing the activity of the water you produce. That is to say, the more exposures you get on the film with the laser passing through it, this might be a way of determining the vitality of the water directly as a procedure. And to add to that, Dennis Cravens and Dennis Letts at 2018, ICCF 18 in 2013 or 14, they showed Lena being produced by 2 interfering lasers impinging upon deuterated palladium. Now, they say it's the beat between the frequencies, but what we learnt at the Cold Nuclear Transmutation and Bull Lightning Conference last year is that in the work of Zatalepin, he used a laser passing through a standard glass fiber, which went as a coil, almost like a Tesla coil, around an exploding or foil or an electrical discharge, and passed that laser into a gas volume, and it would appear to have transmuted the carbon dioxide into aluminium and hydrogen.
Yes, I'm familiar with that, and I'm very impressed by it. I was trying to see if I could find a sort of low-tech way of coming to the same sort of endpoint. And it's possible that there would be a way of doing it. I think an optic fiber is an obvious one. But
so my proposal potentially would be to do the same method, but pass the fiber into the water that you're trying to treat. Because effectively, if you had a good discharge, and it might depend on the tension on the discharge and the discharge gap and the gas that it's in, I would propose hydrogen preferentially. You'd want to, you might be able to just have that firing, and it would be able to charge a micro volume or a continuous stream to a high degree. So it's another one on your already large experimental schedule.
I'm trying to make a catalogue of all the possible things to do.
Yes.
And then what we'll have to do when the project starts properly is have a conclave with all the volunteers, however many there are, and decide on our priorities of what is the most likely to show the results and what is the most practical to do. But we've got between 20, depending how you count it, we've got between 20 and 100 different ways of treating water at the moment.
I think the most simple is, if it works and it's valid, the Perevozchikov method, because it just exposes it to the outside environment with a magnet underneath.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's as simple as you can get.
But I mean, bear in mind, this is the UK.
Yes.
Bob. I mean,
well, yes, but
sure.
the question is it because you are having a stream of this thing coming from the cosmos and it's nothing to do with the sun? Or is it because of the sun, and the amount of this flux of this material can be shifted by the sun? I doubt it's the latter, because gravity doesn't vary much in the position of the Earth unless you go up a mountain or have one of these gravity holes where there's probably some problems in the core Earth underneath in the magnetohydrodynamics in the core. So I think it might be similar regardless of sunlight, and even day and night. It would be slightly enhanced during the day, I would say.
Agreed. Okay, well, I'll certainly put it on the list.
Yeah, cool. Alex, have you got any more questions from YouTube?
Well, we have a quick one that I think Paul can answer right away, and then there's two more that'll be a little bit longer. Paul, do you have a YouTube channel?
No, I'm a very old retired doctor and medical director. I'm a frustrated engineer. My whole family for generations have been engineers, and I was the black sheep of the family because I became a physician. And so I'm sort of, actually, if you really want to know, I mean, secretly we have in our group alchemists, for example, who would like to turn lead into gold. But what I would like to do is I would like to find a way of using a laser beam to put plasmoid energy or fractal toroidal energy into wounds to make them heal. My scientific study has been in the area of wound healing, and I've got a couple of studies done on that basis, but I just think this may be a whole new modality. And what Bob and I were talking about transporting fractal toroidal moments on a laser beam absolutely resonates with that idea with me. I mean, that's Star Trek for you.
Yeah, I mean, the ability to do that would just be breathtaking. To energize the cells that are trying to divide at the point that they're trying to divide to seal that wound, and likewise the application of water in a topical application of activated water is also a very good approach, which means you can distribute that as a low-tech product. It may be as a spray, you just spray it onto the wound.
Absolutely. There's so many possibilities here if we can just get the basic research done.
Yeah, with one of your other approaches there, are you aware of the Walt Jenkins patent?
Walt Jenkins. Okay, give me the Walt Jenkins patent.
The Walt Jenkins patents is still available for about, valid for about 10 years. He uses the pond foggers as part of.
Yeah,
and it actually has several of the aspects of the Bendel technology in there, but it's already as an awarded patent, and that's valid for another 10 years. But honestly, the pond fogger has been used for water arc explosion type devices before, so I'm not sure how that is patentable in its own right, just as a part of the whole system.
I think whether or not we commercialize it, I think it would.
I don't know whether it could be defended, that particular part, because it's already been used in.
You'll notice that I did include a fogger at the base of that tower.
Yes, I did. Yes,
I think putting fog, treated fog or plain fog, or fog made of oxygen, who knows? We can try all sorts of strange and wonderful things, but the actual principle is very valid, I suggest.
I think I'm going to hook you up with Pavel Smira, who is already
Oh,
divided.
I've tried to email him, and I got bounced back as if his email wasn't
All right.
accepted.
Well, I have his phone number, and he's just up the road from me. So he's developed water structuring systems that attach to your tap.
Tell him I asked for a PDF of his paper.
Okay, yeah, we'll do.
And he didn't send it, so please, if you could.
All right. Well, I've got most of his papers anyway, so if let me know which one it is you want.
It was the basic one on water. He does what very few people do, which he says why good or better water tastes nice and is good for you, and he gives you about 6 or 7 criteria. One of which is diamagnetism, which is what I was researching just now.
Yeah, he's done a lot of work on that. Okay, Rupert looks like he's got a question. So.
Oh, he's muted as well.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the energized water, it brings me back. I visited the lab of, I think we heard a guy called Jacques Benveniste, but there was a big sort of drama in the 1980s because he published in Nature that he could transmit biological information through water, okay? And the way he was doing it was actually transmitting antigenic signals by putting a tube of an antigen in a solenoid, and he found that something approximately a 20,000 kilohertz magnetic carrier wave would be perturbed by the biological material, so he could actually then transmit that biological information to a separate tube. And actually it was in his lab, and he seemed to get it to work.
Yeah, well, there we go. He's actually doing the science behind homeopathy, you realize.
That's right, I know that. I know that.
As a doctor, I've always pretty much spat on homeopathy because clearly if there's nothing in the water, there's nothing in the water. But guess what? I think I was wrong.
Yeah.
I think there is something in the water, and it's information rather than substance.
Exactly. I'm just saying, Jacques Benveniste, he did file patents, if I remember rightly. They're obviously expired because it's in the 80s.
Okay? I think he's passed away, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, I think Luc Montagnier took on his work until he died. And he did a similar process where he recorded the signal coming out of the AIDS virus. He sent it to another lab, and using a reverse production of that signal, he was able to get a polymerized chain reactor to reassemble the AIDS virus. And so, based on that hypothesis, I suggest that life does not need to be taken to another planet to seed it. I would suggest that an excited piece of DNA produces a toroidal moment-based information that goes into the universe-wide and material impinging and running through condensate relic neutrinos, and it allows for, at every point in the universe, as soon as it's ready to start producing life, it will start assembling DNA and it will start creating life.
Well, we have, we need, some specific experiments to try and bolt that one down, but I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's incredible. I did a blog on it in 2019 on my Steam. I'll forward that to the group.
Great.
Got 2 questions to go over. One's from Ken Pratt. What are the criteria for determining who qualifies as only dreamers, and what are the criteria for determining qualified people to participate or originate projects? I think what Rupert and Paul and and Chris and I discussed was, if somebody has a workshop in their house or is building something or is actually doing something, that would differentiate them from somebody that wasn't doing something and just talked about it and just had a good idea. We want to see people who actually have the capability to actually do things. So Ken, check your emails right now. I've just sent you an email, so I've just done something.
Ken actually just sent a video just before the call. I think we need to review it and get it maybe into the next call next month.
Already on it, Bob. Already on it.
Okay.
Second question we have from Tartan Beardy. I'm aware of the donations requirement and the website mentions crowdfunding, but is that equity crowdfunding or some sort of seed round, or is it just donation? So to answer your question, there's 2 sorts of donations. One, donation directly to a project. So if you just like a project and want to see that come to fruition, you can donate directly to that, and that'll go directly to the project themselves. Or if you'd like to donate to the DAO, you can donate to the DAO, and the DAO will allocate funds to certain projects to do certain things. In terms of equity crowdfunding, you may get a token in return for donating to our DAO, and for donating to donating to the projects, but how much and when and what that is something for the future. It may be equity in the DAO itself. So hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Tartanbeardy.
So whilst there's a pause here, I just want to thank again Artifact for building that tool. I think it's going to be transformational for researchers. The ability to buy some simple Arduino and start taking data, but also to capture it with a simple webcam and have everything labeled with the data in stream and recording. And then with OBS, you can use OBS to capture the video stream of that and broadcast that live if necessary. It's an incredible tool. I know he already worked on a previous tool for the MFMP. This is a step up because you don't need to buy the rather expensive LabJack to get going. And so it also means that the third parties out there can try to replicate some of the experiments that people in the DAO are doing, which will lend credibility to any data that they may find. And of course, with people like Paul sharing maybe I understand you're going to be sharing those 3D print files, right, Paul?
Yes, correct.
So people will be able to print those out either themselves if they have a printer, but they can go to their local maker lab. There's maker labs all over the world. You can subscribe to these things and get access to printers and print those things up, so you can actually take part in verifying or further extending experiments that are proposed within the DAO. That's kind of the whole point of this thing. So thank you very full respect, Paul, for stating that. Okay, in that vein, if I may share a video, I visited Jan Rack in Prague yesterday, and I got a commitment from him that he would do things in an open fashion. It's a verbal commitment, but he looked me in the eye, and he's a pretty serious player. He worked at CERN. He worked at some major labs in the US. He is a mainstream plasma physicist originally, mainstream nuclear physicist, and in the last many years, he has been running his own lab. He is independently funded, but wants to work with the MFMP and with the DAO. And the first thing that he wants to do is to replicate the work of the Vega experiments of Henk Uren and David Boutlier, and work with us to verify some of the observations there. And this is a really incredible opportunity. The guy has he's definitely got the smarts for sure. He's definitely got the equipment in his lab. He's got a full team and a large workspace. So I've done an initial video here, but in the coming weeks you can expect me to do some videos of some of the extraordinary equipment that they've got there in this village outside Prague. And they also have access to much more lab space, which they can build out with further experiments. So I'm going to see if this works. Let me just see if I can share the second screen here. Okay, is that working? Can you see what I'm looking at here?
Yes.
Okay, let's see if it'll play now. Okay. Hi, my name is Bob Grenier, and I'm a volunteer with the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, and I am here northwest of Prague with Jan.
Hello, everybody.
What are you representing here, Jan? What's your organization?
We are having a foundation which is called ELIA, meaning Electric Life Academy.
And you've got some pretty cool stuff here. What are you going to show me here?
I will show you the fractal discharges, kind of the fractal, which is kind of reflecting the...
Sorry, it's not coming through on YouTube, so I'm going to push this over to the other screen and restart so that people on YouTube can see it as well. Okay, let's try that again. Hi, my name is Bob Grenier, and I'm a volunteer with the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, and I am here northwest of Prague with Jan.
Hello, everybody.
What are you representing here, Jan? What's your organization?
We are having a foundation which is called ELIA, meaning Electric Life Academy.
And you've got some pretty cool stuff here. What are you going to show me here?
I will show you the fractal discharges, kind of the fractal, which is kind of reflecting the golden ratio 5, right?
Wonderful.
So it's the golden dragon, so to speak, right?
Golden dragon.
Right.
It's this little puppy over here, right?
Yes. And you can see the fractal structure. It's the discharge from 400,000 volts, and you see kind of the golden dragon, which can be derived from the phi ratio folded with the fractal structure.
Wonderful. I can smell the ozone.
Right. And I think that these things are
Wonderful.
it's nice, right?
Yeah, really lovely. Okay, so that was that. So thank you very much for Jan Rack. I can say that he has the tools. Let's put it like that. And you're going to see a lot more of that in the coming weeks and months. I think he's a perfect person. He's already visited Henk in Holland. I think he's going to come with me in April. So we're going to be working to ensure a very faithful replication. He doesn't want to replicate necessarily the courage of Henk to put his Cockcroft-Walton generator in a cardboard box. That's something you can do in a barn, but you can't just do it in a lab when there's lots of other employees coming around. But you know, he's definitely got exciting times ahead. Okay, so if anyone else has got any questions. If no one's got any questions, I will just say I will be talking this weekend about the work that I did last week and over the weekend with respect to testing the hypothesis that we might be able to get the pyramid working again, that being the Great Pyramid of Giza. I went and visited a location where they have a scale model. I'm not giving any hints away here. And we have assembled a control test in that pyramid, and I will talk about that on the weekend. It's absolutely incredible what has been done there. It dawned on me, and you will see that it would be impossible to replicate this on almost any other smaller scale than we're going to attempt with this particular place. A vast amount of money has been spent to make this device, and it's just amazing that it's already been done, and we have an opportunity to test the hypothesis on about as small a scale model as you can possibly imagine. So more of that on the weekend. So is there any other questions there? Just to fill you in, if it is successful, then we will be proposing this to the Egyptian Antiquity Authorities in November.
That scale model has all three main chambers?
It's an open volume inside.
Ah, okay.
That made it a lot more complicated to do the control test.
Yeah, I would imagine, yeah.
But it means that so the control test is without the activating Grand Gallery and potentially Mirror Grand Gallery, and we've already worked out how we're going to build those into the closed volume in the correct places. So yeah. Anyway, more of that on the weekend. This Skoggy Hoggins says, what is the scale? The scale is 7.51% of the scale of the actual pyramid of Giza. It's still freaking massive.
I know this I must see.
But you'll see that it's as small as you could possibly make an experiment.
Jeez, that's what you call small, huh?
Yeah.
I was going to 3D print a pyramid to try it.
No. When you see the presentation on Sunday, you'll realize you'll be looking at a very small area where it just wouldn't be possible. This is how it has to be. Okay, so thank you very much, Artifact. Thank you for everyone that's been doing hard work. Thank you, Paul. I'll let you take over the thanks, Charles, for everyone else. And if there's no more comments, then we'll close it out for the night.
It's everyone who's in chat today. Paul, Rupert, Alex, Paul, Stephen, Sterling, Artifact, Martin. Thank yourself, Bob, as well, for doing all the sterling work you do and hoarding all that data you have done for the last 10 years so we can finally pilfer it and get it out to the world. Thank you, everybody in the community, for being amazing and asking wonderful questions, through all your support. Thank you very much for your constructive criticisms. I really appreciate it, and I love that we've all built something together that's going to be magical. So really appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. You're all amazing.
Awesome. Very, very pumped. Charles, do you want to say something about ICCF?
Yes, we're aiming to fly to ICCF. We aim to sponsor ICCF and aim to launch at ICCF.
So when ICCF, that's our window.
So yeah, a little different from every other DAO that's ever existed. So I'm looking forward to that.
Anyway, it's the brilliance of the individuals involved, including yourself, Charles. So I want to say a huge thank you, Charles. I know you've put an immense amount of effort in over the last 6, even more months, and being a contributor to the MFMP before that. So really a huge thank you and a big round really for Charles. Thank you very much.
Here. Thank you, Charles.
That's wonderful, gentlemen. Thank you very much. But thank you all. Thank you all.
Okay. With that, I'll say goodbye to people on YouTube. And thank you, guys. I will see you on the 9th of next month, if not before.